who are you when people are outside of the room talking about you? What are the stories they tell
Mhm.
about you? It's very similar to br the impressions and brand distinction that you want when you're looking at a particular brand. So I often will ask leaders, when you're finished with this year, what do you want people to say about you? What do you want to be known for? When people think of you, what's that one thing that they say, oh, Amelia, when they think of me, the moms. Okay, and so they know that I'm working within their businesses. I'm working on their presence, but when they think of me, they're thinking, "Oh, she's working specifically with this population." And that type of instant recognition is what a lot of us initially don't. We're afraid to niche down. We're afraid to, well, I do so many things, but that's not true because we actually want to be known for something, to be distinguished for something. Okay.
Welcome, Amelia. I'm so excited for you to join me in this show. We've known each other for a little while as we've been working
Yes.
together, and I'm
Yes.
very excited for you to join me here on the Brand Distinction podcast. Would you share a few words about your work, yourself, who you work with, where you're based?
Yes, thank you so much, Nina. I am honored to be one of your clients and learning so much from working with you. I am a Coach Amelia is my how I'm known on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and I have been an executive coach for the past 17 years. And I specifically work with mothers who are senior leaders and CEOs of their own business. And I'm helping them reclaim their time, their energy, delegate with more power and influence, and actually enjoy the life that they have with their families while they're present with them.
What a beautiful mission. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you've coached C-suite leaders and VPs at Fortune 500 companies for, like you mentioned, 17 years.
Yes.
And you mentioned recently to me that executive presence and influence is the number one questions that those executives and leaders they come to you with right now. They want to develop that. Can you
Mhm.
share a little bit more? Why is that? Why is that a specific core topic they're looking to work on?
Yes. So when you get to a certain level of leadership, it stops being about how you execute. Can you do the job? That's just assumed. But what now people are looking for is this somebody that I want to follow? Is this something that I'm inspired to do my best work by? And is this someone who exemplifies the values of the brand or the company or whatever it is they're encouraging other people to follow them with? So that leader or that presence that people talk about, executive presence, is not just being charismatic and giving wonderful stories and talks, which of course is very helpful, but do I inspire people and do I connect with them in a way that motivates them to the desired outcome of them doing their best work, of them putting in that extra something, love and care often, which is something that's more emotional than just doing the job, executing well and calling it a day. So that type of leader is when we look at executive presence and when often I get feedback on, oh, this person needs help with their executive presence, they think, oh, they just need to present well. And it goes much more beyond that now. And I'll just stop right there because there's a lot to say on this topic, but that's a good beginning answer, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I'm actually seeing some parallels with brand and with brand distinction. I think in the current world, we have no shortage of like top professionals or top products that do the job. So at this level, like there are a lot of products and companies and professionals who do the job very well, but
Mhm.
then the question comes to at which level you want to operate. And if you want to be operate at a
Right.
higher level, if you want to attract higher value clients and the right clients, this is where you come to the question of like, are you authentic or is your brand
Mhm.
authentic? Like, who
Right.
do you attract? How do you transmit your values? So, like, the base level is like, yeah, the great work, the operations. This is the
Right.
base, the foundation. But then that the next level is where the brand distinction comes, the authenticity, the leadership. The like in your work, it's more executive presence, but in, like when it comes to brand and positioning, it's more about like this authenticity and brand distinction. That's very interesting, actually.
Yes, I think it goes similarly in the corporate world and in the business world. I see the two, they get transmitted a little bit differently, but still, who are you when people are outside of the room talking about you? What are the stories they tell
Hmm.
about you? It's very similar to br the impressions and brand distinction that you want when you're looking at a particular brand. So I often will ask leaders, when you're finished with this year, what do you want people to say about you? What do you want to be known for? When people think of you, what's that one thing that they say, oh, Amelia, when they think of me, the moms. Okay. And so they know that I'm working within their businesses, I'm working on their presence. But when they think of me, they're thinking, oh, she's working specifically with this population. And that type of instant recognition is what a lot of us initially don't, we're afraid to niche down, we're afraid to, well, I do so many things, but that's not true because we actually want to be known for something, to be distinguished for something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we want to work ultimately in our zone of genius. And ultimately, if you
Yes.
want to be excellent professional and deliver your work with excellence, you cannot like be a generalist. You cannot do a little bit of everything. You want to really go deep into what is your zone of genius? What do you excel
Yes.
at? What is only you can deliver at the best top level in the world? And I think that's very exciting. That's very rewarding for yourself as a professional, actually.
Yes, yes. I think once you know you have that message and you understand how I'm going to convey it, that's the beginning of your executive presence. And that's what understanding what you want to be known for, and then understanding how you want people to experience you.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think this is ultimately why those leaders they hire you because
Yes.
um like I don't know how it transmits in your work, but I know a lot of professionals. I work with exceptional professionals. A lot of them they come to me because they already operate at a very high level, but they want to go higher.
Yes.
And then
Right.
it takes someone like a mentor, a coach, a
Mhm.
high performance coach, executive coach to help you pull out those layers to really nail down your zone of genius, to really nail
Yes.
down why people will follow you, what is so special about you. Because I think we're so much
Right.
inside our work, inside the box, that we don't see the label outside the box. And that's ultimately why your work is so meaningful.
That's so true. And I would echo that with your work, having that kind of eyes not only on the aesthetics of the person, but also what's the message? Where does it resonate? And understanding how people react to certain messages and then the tone, the way we transmit them. So much of my work is about the how. And are you landing your message the way that you're intending to convey it? And so often, I think um, leaders who are trying to get to that next level are not always aware of how their messages are coming across, or they're too concerned with is my message going to make somebody upset? And then I'm diluting what my message is. So there's kind of those extremes that I see sometimes.
Hmm. Awesome. And so, if you worked with somebody like a high level leader, what's the like KPI, so to say, when they feel like, okay, I've made it. I made it to this next
Hmm.
level, or I feel like I am showing up as myself, or like what, how do you define that?
That's such a good question. I think one is the internal metric. How do you feel? Are you less nervous? Are you less anxious? Are you more confident? Do you make decisions faster? Are you able to move items along because you are able to build consensus easier now that you've generated more of that kind of influence? And influence is something that's a word that's tossed around all the time. But I think influence is really what kind of relationship do people have with you? Do you give them something and do they give you something? Are you in a reciprocal trust building relationship? That's really what influence. And it's so funny because sometimes influence comes from the people who are the most quiet in the background, but they know every single person. They can tell you their husband's names, their kids' names. They have this kind of quality that people feel connected to them and therefore they will do something with that person. I will connect with that person in a different way than I would anybody else because I have this relationship with them. So influence is often something that I think we still see very top down and and making people do things. And I think in this world now, it's really the opposite. And especially with the younger generation coming up, they have a different value for connection, for authenticity, for sharing that older generations sometimes think that that's oversharing or that's too much of my personal brand and that's I'm not an influencer and they feel a certain way about that type of thing. But learning how to talk about brand in a way that's not just about your brand, but translating it to how are you influencing people? What's coming across? And is that what you ultimately want it to be?
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. And so coming to your own brand, so I know you've been executive coach through an organization, a very prestigious organization, but you've been also running your own business for a number of years. But when you decided to go a bit harder, like on your independent practice,
Yeah.
what would you say changed about how you needed to show up, like independently online as Coach Amelia, as an independent brand?
Yes, I really had to turn inward and do all of this leadership branding to myself, which is hard to do, which is why people hire mentors and they hire experts to help them. So, learning about what do I stand for? What are people experiencing about me? And who is it ultimately that I am here to help? And getting very specific about that and really understanding and being open to what is it that my client is concerned about? What is it that's keeping them up at night? What problem do they really, really want to solve that I can be in a unique position to solve for them? So getting clarity on those things and then iterating and not being afraid to make mistakes and putting out those posts that nobody responds to and continuing to try and experiment, right? Until something lands. And then that's so exciting. And then you continue to always be in a learning mode. And it's very humbling. And I think when you're out there really as an entrepreneur fully, especially in our online world, there's really a lot to learn. And there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things. So learning how to trust your own instincts, even if that's different than what a LinkedIn guru is saying or someone else is saying, but to be able to say, I need to ultimately convey this is my brand. I have to be true to myself and what I stand for.
I love that. Yeah. There is so
Thank
much
you.
to unpack. Yeah, but it's very interesting. I think this ultimately goes back to the question that we covered at the very, very beginning when you started to go in a little bit heavier on the independent side. Of
Mhm.
course, you had brilliant coaching skills. You've been doing this work for years. Of course, you're exceptional at what you do, but then communicating that, sharing it with people who've never met you or who haven't been
Right.
referred to you, for them to see you as this expert, as this excellent expert, this requires much more layers and work in terms of positioning and marketing and promoting versus
Yes.
just working inside the organization.
100%. And it really was very helpful to have guidance from someone like yourself that has built a really significant presence online and understanding what I think resonates may not be what actually people connect to. So for example, I used to think that I needed to have only professional photography out there representing myself. And I thought that's the only way people will take me seriously as a high-level executive coach. And in fact, what I learned through working with you is that people are crave this authenticity that I even spoke about earlier online. People want to see that you're a real person, especially in the world of AI. They need to feel and trust that that person that you're seeing who's just taking a selfie with their phone, that's the same person when we show up on Zoom that you're going to get. And I see that sometimes with my clients that they'll have this beautiful LinkedIn profile and professional photo, and then they show up to the phone call and this is in a professional context and it's like the person is like this and there's no lighting and you just everything is it does not reflect the kind of professional that they are. And that's something that I had to understand, that there's this balance between being a professional and also being a person that someone says that's a relatable human being and that's someone I want to connect to.
Yeah, that's a very nuanced balance that, of course, as a
Yes.
professional, of course, you want to put your best foot forward. Like you want people to see you as a professional, but at the same time, and I think this is on par with the current time and the current environment that we are living on, that there is so much online. There is a lot of AI, there is a lot of fake, so to say. So
Yes.
building trust through this authentic expression, through sharing a little bit of a personal touch from your own life, make you more human, develops trust, creates distinction as well for your own brand. So
Right.
yeah, there is this
Right.
very nuanced balance that you have to accommodate for.
Yes, definitely. And that nuance, I think, is where expertise comes in and understanding, okay, it's not just about sharing everything, but it's about, is this representing me in a way that I want my brand to be represented? And how is this? And that I think is what also people are in corporate settings and in their own businesses, they're thinking about, does this website, for example, represent me? I had a client who met me in an in-person setting, and then she went to my website and she was so impressed by the website. And this is so beautiful. This is so amazing. And I really want to understand how you put this together. And so that's an example of where meeting someone and having the right visual representation of yourself can be so helpful, or it could be a detriment if it's outdated, if it's something, you know, and I had all those older websites out there in the too. It's only in the last couple years post COVID that I was really focusing on online presence and how important that the two match really need to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think we live in a very saturated world where referrals are amazing. A lot of people,
Yes,
a lot of industries, a lot of niches, they still operate heavily on referral. And I think a lot of people, they still want, yeah, recommendation from someone who've experienced your work or who've known you, have known you for longer or something like this. But then ultimately, what people do nowadays, they don't just rely on referral. They go and check you out online. They go check your website, they go check your LinkedIn or Instagram,
right,
and yeah, this is where this first impression online, this either confirms the referral, whether it amplifies it and strengthen it, or like you said, it is going to be diminishing and
right.
undermining your work. So yeah, the two are very important, even if
Yes.
you have a lot of referral partners and all of that.
Yes. And another lesson I learned with this is that if you outsource that to someone else to say, just put a beautiful website together for me, which I did one time when I had someone film a bunch of videos of me, and I couldn't release any of those because it did not feel like myself. It did not feel like the kind of representation of myself that was out there. So again, there's this balance of there is a balance of creating and also getting the help that you need. Or my
I
voice is
love that you're
cracking.
mentioning that, and I think this is where a lot of, I think especially established professionals, they are undermining, underestimating how much of the strategy and like business strategy actually that goes behind the brand work. Like those pretty visuals by itself are not so
Right,
meaningful if they are not aligned with the strategy, with what you want to communicate, with who you want to attract, at which level you want, of which level of investment you want to command. So it has
right.
to be aligned. And I agree with you that
Yeah.
if you fully outsource that, it is very, very hard to actually have this authentic, distinct brand.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. I agree with that 100%. And being able to be involved with that. So in big companies, many leaders are used to outsourcing. Well, marketing does that. And when it comes to you and the impression that you're making within a company, it's not just about, putting on a nice blazer, right? Or taking a pretty picture, like you said. It's also what is the full picture conveying about me? And doing it in a strategic way, but also in an authentic way. So we're not doing a performance of ourselves, but we're doing something that is really the highest level, most aligned version of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay, I'd love to shift gears a little bit and actually
Sure.
talk about Why is it so uncomfortable for so many exceptional professionals who are so good at what they do, who've been doing the work for like decades? So
Yes.
they know they're so good when they're with clients, when they are leading organizations. Why is it so hard for them to go out in the world and present themselves in the world, to be online, to promote their own brand, their own services or products?
Yes. This is this is something that many professionals face when they, and many people are in this situation now when they're out of work. And now all of a sudden they need to present themselves, they need to repackage themselves differently. Or let's say they're at a certain level and they have not been able to get to that next level. They want that next promotion, or they own their own business and they realize that they have to be the one. They don't like selling, they don't like marketing. And so, for example, I'm a coach and I didn't get into coaching to be a marketer. I didn't real, that wasn't the main motivation. But one thing that I had to accept, and I think this was a very, very helpful learning from people who are professional marketers and branding experts like yourself, is that it's about it. We have to look at it that we're sharing our gifts so that we can be of service to others. And that's a main value for me. So that helped me reframe this thing that felt not really part of my main motivations and values. But if I can't reach people that would benefit, then there's really, the gift isn't being given, the gift isn't being shared. So if I can rethink it, reframe it in a way that does align and make sure I'm doing it in a manner where I am trustworthy, I am being authentic, I am being transparent to what my business is about and who I'm here to serve, then all that fear and that discomfort goes away. But I think those are the layers that many professionals often struggle with. They feel like they're being fake. They feel like it's just PR and it's just, you know, not real and not true. And I think a really good professional who is advising someone on their personal brand and what I do in their leadership coaching is not going to allow them to just create something that's not true for them. That it really must be aligned to who they are. And it's not just to get a quick transaction, to get a quick yes, and to schmooze people and make them do something. And so I think that's really the biggest difference. So too many people have seen examples of that other thing and they feel, oh, I don't want to be that thing. So how can I do this in a way that feels aligned and it feels authentic to myself and it still shares the gift. It still shares the message that I wanted to share.
Yeah, you said it very beautifully. Yes. Yeah. Totally agree. I think it's a very nuanced mindset shift. And even when we realize that, oh, yes, it's not about being salesy and like pushing my product out there, it's actually about helping people and helping the
Right,
right people and getting my gift to the people who need it, who want it.
right,
It
right.
changes a lot, but still, I think on a day-to-day basis, still a lot of people. Then the question comes to, okay, I agree with that, and I like that approach, but then the question is, okay, how do I do that? How it does it look like in practice that I'm putting
Yes.
myself out there, but it communicates authentically and it really communicates who I am. I don't sound like ChatGPT or something like this, and I don't sound salesy, but I sound like myself. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning ChatGPT. So that's a huge aspect of what's happening now is people are saying, "Oh my gosh, I don't have to think about all this personal branding and like nice communication. I'll just outsource it to AI." And so what ends up coming out and people feel it and they know, and it's not just looking at M dashes, but they're looking at this like something about this communication doesn't feel authentic. And and so can I really trust this communication? And that's huge because you might be creating a shortcut on one end, but then you're losing trust that takes a long time to build on the other end. So there really is a balance of feeling out where can I use this tool of AI, which is an incredible tool, and I use it every day to actually still convey the value and the uniqueness and share that personal feeling, which you talk about so much. It's that diamond principle. That's the thing that distinguishes you from something else is your own personal brand and your packaging and their experience of you. And that written word sometimes is all they're getting in many settings, even in day-to-day settings that are not online. People are having to look at words and make immediate decisions about them.
Yes, totally. Yes, I love that we touched on that. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's all about being very strategic and being very smart. Of course, we want to use AI, obviously, but
Yeah.
you want to be very clear about how you use it and to what extent. And
Mhm.
yeah, not to, you cannot really outsource your personal brand and everything to ChatGPT unless you want to sound and look like everybody else.
Right. Right. Then there's no distinction.
Yeah, and it really, I'm saying that people who are the most human and authentic online right now, those are the people who are winning. No, those people who are
Right.
putting 25 posts a week just because they can, because ChatGPT wrote it to them for them in 5 minutes, but
Mm,
because they actually put their time and human thought into what they're putting out there into the world.
yes, that's correct. Yes, I agree.
I'd
Mhm.
love to touch on the topic of creating this consistency between the visual part of your brand, the visual aspect of your brand,
Mm,
and actually the bringing the expertise, bringing the like the expertise, the years of experience, all of that together. So what
yes.
people are seeing like on the outside, because I think this is the work that we've done together a lot as well. How do we align that? How
Yeah.
do we combine that? Because these are
Yeah.
all the parts of the same coin. Your
Yes.
communication style, how you communicate, how often, what you talk about, and also
Right.
aligning it with the visuals and communicating your expertise. What changed for you? Or like, is there anything else you want to speak on this topic when you
Yes.
started aligning both and made it very authentic to yourself?
I think the biggest learning for me was trying to understand how the aesthetics really impact that immediate first impression, last impression that you talk about. So if someone has 0.001 seconds where they form an impression about me, is that impression, are all the visuals that I'm putting out there lining up with that? And that's something I didn't fully understand. I didn't understand that stock photography takes away from that. I didn't understand that the colors that I use are so crucial to what the brain of the person is taking in. So these were the kinds of things through learning with you that quickly saw when I saw from that perspective of that 0.001 impression, because I think as a coach and many of us in that are advisory specialists to people. We are very much, we come from a place of process. We come from a place of taking you from A to Z. And so we are not always paying attention to that first impression of how something looks. At least I will say from my experience, I was not paying attention to that. And when I learned that that is so powerful for people and how I do that in a way that's authentic to me, once that was aligned, it felt actually exciting. um it felt actually fun. And I would say anyone that feels like content creation or how am I going to post or what to post, and anyone that feels that that feels very heavy for them, I would strongly encourage you to work with Nina, because she has a way of making that feel good and feel easy. And I just had to put that recommendation out there because it now feels so much better and so much simpler to be able to represent myself in a visual way that is aligned. But I had to, first of all, understand the basics of those visual impressions and maybe why certain things didn't feel right. Like when I hired someone to outsource videos for me, why that didn't feel like me. And and so that I would just say that that was a big one. And then I would say the other thing I would say is for people who are professionals, that they go to a workplace, I think asking for feedback, asking what people need, asking, I'm just curious when you think of me, what are the three words that you think of? So, and that's part of the branding process too, is under what does this brand stand for? If you don't know what you stand for and you don't know what people are thinking of, I think it's usually a very positive surprise. I when I have professionals do this exercise where they take 10 people in their life and they're saying, my coach is asking me to give three words that describe me, and they come back with these beautiful words that describe them. They're often really touched that that's what people think of them and that's what's coming across. And so then I say, okay, so how this is the what you're living in. How are you going to translate that to perhaps what's happening online or what's happening when you have that 1 second? Many professionals work very cross-functionally and they only see people once every 3 months. So when you have that split second to make that impression, how are you going to do that? Through your voice, through your body language, through your dress, through those visuals also. Understanding those impacts are really important.
Yes, totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Very beautifully said. I would love to wrap it up with maybe you sharing a bit of experience because you've been building your own brand for a while now. You've been
Mhm.
building an independent brand for a while now. What kind of advice you would give to another professional who is thinking of building their own practice, building their own brand independently? Because if you look back at your own journey, we always like looking back, it's always so easy to see like, why did I spend time doing this, or why did I struggle on that when it didn't make any sense. So, do you
Yeah.
have any word of advice or any mistakes you can highlight so they don't waste their time on that?
I think the biggest one is I wish I had started doing it sooner. Um, I wish I had started creating my own thoughts and content and putting it out there and not waiting until it was perfect or until it was all of these things. And then I think learning who can I go to get the right help from? Because I was definitely in a lot of DIY. I was buying courses and I was getting materials. And then I think investing with someone like yourself really changed the game for me in terms of how I could implement and how quickly those results could come back to me. And I really would strongly encourage people who are in that stage. One is don't wait until it's perfect. And then also consider finding someone that can really help you at the stage that you're at, whether it's with your writing or it's with your visuals or if it's with just your speaking skills or whatever it is that you feel like this is the thing that's holding me back, is to don't hesitate to go and invest to get that kind of advice and assurance because that can really take things to the next level for you.
I love that, and I totally agree. Yeah, there is. I mean, I think you can DI a lot of things, but it's just like it's a
Yes.
much longer path. And a lot of
Yes.
times,
That's right.
especially at a certain after a certain age, time is luxury for us. We don't want to spend too much time on those things and do all those mistakes ourselves and learn from them ourselves. If somebody
Right.
can shorten the path for you, it's
Yes.
worth it.
It is worth it, 100% worth it. Yes, when you've taken your DIY to the extent that it can go, then and you're kind of feel that stuckness, I think that's a really perfect time to seek out some professional help to be able to unstuck yourself and grow in a different way.
Yeah, and then to that question, so how do you select a professional you want to work with? So how would somebody choose work with you, for example, um,
Yes.
over somebody else? What do you think is important? What do you look for personally?
I think experiencing them live, whether it's in person or if it's virtually. So, really feeling them, what are they like in real time? That's huge because there's so much about personality, emotion, energy that just reading something online or seeing a website can't really convey, even a pre-recorded video. Um, and I think I remember coming on the call with you for the very first time, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's the same person that I've been seeing on Instagram on these videos. Like, this is so cool. This is a real person, which shouldn't be a shock, but often it is. So that's getting a feeling of this person. And I think assessing one is, do I trust this person? And then also, is this person's process aligned in a way that feels right for me? So a lot of times, I think we have to be really mindful of this when we're looking at people to work with. Has this person helped people like me? Do they have a process that seems sound? And can is this a person that is going to accompany me through these different stages? So sometimes when you buy the courses or like a short ebook, it's still you. You're going to still be the one doing it. But looking for, am I going to be supported in this process? So if I have a question or if I don't understand something or if I am stuck, will this person, will their team or someone will be there to help me get unstuck and keep moving forward? I think that's where the real result of working with someone come in. So I would say looking for all of those things to make sense is worth the journey. And obviously, if you can talk to their former clients, if you can see that those, because you see those like testimonials, and do you know, are they real people? And sometimes the names are blurred out, and I don't understand testimonials with no name and no, it doesn't, for me, all of my clients, if you go to my profiles, they have their first and last name, their LinkedIn profiles. You can see these are real people that work with me. And same thing for, I know your testimonials are all real people. So that makes a big difference too. Like, can you talk to people that that professional has worked with and say, that's a real person and they help me and I can recommend them.
Great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and totally agree for you on that. That a lot of times you could see something very polished online, like the text is polished, the photos are professional, all of those things, they look great. But then if you get to experience somebody in person, whether in person or virtually, sometimes there is a disconnect. And this is where, oh, like, I'm not sure I can trust this person because kind of
Right.
has two faces. So
Right.
when it is aligned in the modern world, this is very precious.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. Well, that's been so interesting and so valuable, I think, for anybody listening. Amelia, thank you so much.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything else you want to add? I mean, we're going to put the links how people can find you in the show notes,
Okay.
but if there anything else you want to add or
I could mention something about my upcoming May 19th, which I'm going to be a small group of women looking at calendars in real time. So it's an executive calendar audit, a real live working coaching session where women can come and get immediate insight into where they can save time and energy for the summer so they can actually enjoy the summer with their families. So that is invite only. They can reach out to me to get that information, and I would be more than happy to welcome them in.
yeah, I think I had a little preview of this event and I saw that it was so practical and you were literally looking at calendars of different women, helping them unlock more time and energy in their lives. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yes. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Amelia.
Thank you so much, Nina. It was so much fun. I could keep talking to you all the time. It was so easy. So great.